Good morning and day 9 of basic motor skills. This is the last day we're going to look at primitive reflexes, and what we're going to look at is rooting and sucking reflexes, plus some exercises which I think all children ought to be doing to get the muscles around their face, throat, mouth all working. So on we go. When your baby is born, it has an automatic reflex, ideally, to root, to look for the breast, to feed. It's a survival reflex, and to get it to latch onto the breast. The tongue really takes in the breast a long way. The tongue is out a long way, and it's really quite a powerful muscle sucking in that milk. So you don't want that reflex to continue, because that function, sucking in the milk, finding the milk, is not useful later for speech and language, for controlling fluid coming out of your mouth. So the dribbly child is the one that's most likely to have problems with a retained rooting reflex. Sucking reflexes are quite unusual, but let us go. So if you want to know if your child has a retained rooting or sucking reflex, you're going to just stroke down the side of the mouth. When you stroke down a newborn baby, they should automatically turn to that side. If you put your finger just by their mouth, they will take it in like a sort of ferocious crocodile. They have tremendous sucking, and most who played with babies know that. And you can repeat the same exercise on the other side, just stroking down. If you touch the side, and you know when you get the twitch, you've got the rooting reflex present. When you get the suck, you've got the sucking reflex still present. And you don't want either, not after 4 months. You want them to be integrated. If a child goes on having a retained sucking and rooting reflex, the tongue is in the wrong place in the mouth. It's too far forward. That's going to affect its speech. It can be very hypersensitive to food and things around the mouth. It can have a lot of difficulty eating any solids or food with texture. It can be terribly fussy about food. You've got a thumb sucker on your hands often, and they want to put things in their mouths all the time. It is important that children don't, because when you've got a finger in your hand, in your mouth all the time, it's going to affect how the upper mouth, the palate, forms, and it's going to affect how the teeth fit properly in the mouth. So you don't want this quite plastic area to be affected by having something blocking the mouth. That area needs to develop nicely, so the teeth develop, the palate develops, so speech and language develop. So obviously there will be speech and articulation problems. There can be problems swallowing and chewing because they haven't really got the muscles worked out properly. They're the dribbly child, as I said. It can also cause hormone imbalance, thyroid and autoimmune tendencies. I have no idea why, but it's said to. And the person struggles with doing a task and talking at the same time. So it's quite an important reflex. I tend to just dump it on mothers and tell them to go away and get on with it. However, I promised one mother I will work very hard today. So on both sides of the face, to get rid of this reflex, you are going to, several times a day, stroke from the ear down to the mouth, and then do it again. And what you want is the child to stay completely still. You don't want them, when you stroke, to start wanting to move or moving their arms. So their arms are staying still, their head is staying still. They've got to tolerate someone stroking their face without any movement, without any twitch. You're then going to repeat the exercise on the other side. Same thing, you want them to stay still. And they've got to learn to stay still and not respond to the stimulation. Then the other thing you're going to do is you're stroking from nose to chin, and then arcing round once, then out a bit further, twice, 3 times, on the other side, once, twice, 3 times. So both sides, both exercises, all occasions, you want to get the child to the point where they're not responding in any way with hands or with face or head movements to any stimulation around their mouth, to the point their mouth becomes insensitive. Boom, boom. So on we go. Once they've gained conscious control, they need to exercise their mouth. It's not just good enough to get it suppressed. You've actually got to do exercises. And I got these exercises from an extremely good website, which the link is just before, and I'll leave it on when I post the video. And you can see what the therapist is doing is they're getting the child to do a whole series of facial expressions and movements to strengthen the muscles around the mouth and the throat. So as simple as great big smile, and then relaxing. Then another great big smile. Then she gets him great big pout, and then sucking the cheeks in. Drawing in the lips, and then relaxing them. Putting tongue in cheek. Anywhere, doesn't really matter. Getting him to bring his teeth over the bottom lip. And of course you can make funny faces, it can be a lot of fun. The child thinks you're just being silly, but actually what's happening is we're doing a lot of work around the face. And I've gone on showing you all of her exercises. So sticking the tongue out a long way, getting the tongue up to lick the nose if possible, certainly to get as far as possible, really licking around the lips one way and then the other way. You're getting the muscles in the mouth to work better. I've added a few obvious ones, things like pulling funny faces, things like blowing bubbles, things like blowing musical instruments. When I was thinking about it last night, I can remember with my own mother, she used to make us make noises, so that clicking in the mouth, or so you're doing things with your tongue, you're making noises, even gargling water, anything where you're using your mouth and throat area and getting all those muscles working. Very, very important. So like all these things, you are diligent, you're slow, you're thorough. I think this is more fun than other ones, and it's worth doing for quite a long time. So do it a couple of times a day, make it a fun game, and you can keep doing it forever, well into adulthood, to be honest. Pulling funny faces at each other, remembering the noises you could make, seeing those sorts of sounds. Once people can make them, it's fun, it's joyous, it's a game. But if you're not that thrilled by them, please do them for at least 40 days. Remember, the child's got to use those throat and mouth muscles properly. If they're not, you should go and talk to a speech and language therapist. And you should also consider sound therapy, because when you change how the sound works, you change how the muscles in the throat work. So the two work together, and it's important that that is part of the whole picture. And as I usually tell you, here are my contact details, which you can get hold of me, and here are the details for how to get hold of any sound processing equipment. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Goodbye.